Welcome back to our third video in the Bystander Intervention series. I'm Caitlin Henriksen, Health Educator for Sexual Violence Prevention here at UW Green Bay. If you haven't watched our first two videos, I highly recommend you look back at our social media or on the Wellness Center YouTube page to get caught up. Today, I want to start talking about some of those barriers to intervention. Now, I like to assume that most people are fundamentally good and want to prevent violence. And from my time here at UW Green Bay, I feel pretty confident applying that assumption to our faculty, staff, and students. So if most people want to prevent violence, then why don't more people intervene? According to the bystander intervention approach, there are 5 steps to taking action. First, notice the event. Second, interpret it as a problem. Third, assume personal responsibility. Fourth, know how to take action. And fifth, take the action. However, with each of those steps come some barriers. So first, notice the event. One big barrier to our awareness, these lovely smartphones. And as someone who has walked into many things while looking at their phone, I understand just how absorbing they can be. And I will say that smartphones are not the only thing that distract us. You could be just really into who you're talking to in person, and that's great. I'm not saying you should start ignoring the people that you're with. Rather, we should all just start making a conscious effort to check in on our surroundings and be a little bit more aware of our environment. It doesn't have to be a big change. Just every once and again, check in and see what's going on around you. Second, interpret it as a problem. Now, sometimes we don't recognize it as a problem because of our own biases or beliefs that are likely influenced by those cultural norms. And that's why education like this is so important. The more we know about a problem, the easier it is for us to recognize it when we see it. But other times we don't recognize a problem because the situation is so ambiguous. And what I mean by that is that in most instances, no one's going to be running screaming for help, where we could very clearly see that assistance is needed. So the best thing we can do is err on the side of caution and check in and try and investigate the situation as best we can to determine if help is needed. Third, assume personal responsibility. Now, it can be really easy to say it's not your problem, especially if there are other people around. Sometimes it can even be harder to act if we're concerned about how other people respond. Maybe you're with a group of friends and you're worried about how they'll react to you intervening. Or maybe the person doing the harm is a friend and you're worried that intervening may damage your friendship. So I'm challenging you to make it your problem and to act. Now, as we'll talk about in the next video, assuming personal responsibility and deciding to act doesn't mean that it is now your job to fix everything at all costs. Assuming personal responsibility just means that you're going to do something to help. And there are ways to help that are safe and can minimize negative reactions from others. Fourth, know how to help. Now, this is what we're really going to dive into in our last video. But for now, just know that there are ways that everyone can intervene in situations. And you should never put yourself in harm's way. Your safety can be a barrier to intervening. And that is one barrier that should never be ignored. However, we will talk about ways that you can safely intervene in these situations. And finally, implement the help. Act. Whatever it is you decide is best to do it. Join us for our last video where we talk about real ways to intervene in these situations.